It's time for another date, and I thought, what's a better meet cute than at a laundromat? Today I'm washing our rugs, and they've got so much dog hair on them that it's a good thing they're getting washed. Here's my stuff. Okay, so let's be honest. Sometimes first impressions can be a little deceiving. And that place, while cute on the outside, was not so great on the inside. Plus, it required cash, and I didn't have cash. So I'm going to go find a different laundromat to hopefully have my meet cute in. And I'm going to go for quality this time, maybe not necessarily just aesthetics. Oh, that's right. There was another reason why that wasn't the most ideal date location for me. The music was super loud, and I'm not great at reading in public places because I get distracted really easily. But also, like when talking about the book, I would have had a hard time in there because the music was just blaring. And, you know, when you're trying to get to know your date one-on-one, it's kind of nice to have the quiet space to be able to get to know them more intimately. And so it just, there's a lot of reasons why that wasn't the best choice. And hopefully this next space will be a little quieter for the music. Okay, it's Amy from the future here to say that all my updates are going to be done at home because it was a really nice laundromat, but Paw Patrol was playing really loud on the TV. People were coming in and out of there quite a bit. I just didn't feel comfortable doing updates, and it would have been hard with all the noises within the laundromat. So I'm going to give you my updates in arrears. First of all, my first impression of this 10% is that, at least in the beginning, it looks really dense. We get some dialogue later on, but this is a really dense section. You know, there's not a lot of divisions in the beginning of this, and it looks like there's a lot going on for this first 10%, which makes me think that this is a pretty long book. So when looking at this, I was definitely a little nervous as to how long it would take me to get through it. All right, after reading the first section, my first impressions are that this is very cozy. I think at first it took me a little time to get into it, not like only through the first paragraph, because that first paragraph was very descriptive and not a lot happened, but also I just was really distracted. There was so much going around. The TV was going on. Like, that's hard when there's actually, you know, something playing on the TV to not, for me to zone out and be able to get into it. So at first I had a hard time getting into it, but that didn't last very long. And this actually ended up being a very easy story for me to get through fairly quickly after that first paragraph. So the reason I feel like it's cozy is because we had this main character, Henry, who is this, I think when we first meet him, he's like in his 30s. No, he's like in his 40s. And he owns a pharmacy, and he's the pharmacist. So he's very nostalgic about the simple things in life, the things that make him feel like there is a balance in life. He gets pleasure out of other people's pleasure. And I found right away that he appears to live vicariously through other people's emotions and happiness and whatnot. And you think at first that his life at home is not great and that his relationship with his wife is terrible. But as he gets happiness through the happiness he sees in other people, he is happier at home in his life with his wife. So it's strange. Anyways, he has someone who works for him, the front desk clerk, and she ends up dying. So he hires this young woman, very, very young woman. She's, fresh out of college. She's probably like 20, maybe 19, 20 or something along those lines. Maybe a little bit older, but I don't think so. And, she's done with college, so she's got to be like early 20s. And she's married to this man also named Henry, and that's a fun little thing that is going on between these two Henrys. And he just loves the brightness and the freshness, the youth, the excitement, all that's happening with this young couple. It seems so wholesome, and it is so wholesome, at least in the beginning. His feelings towards this couple, his feelings towards Denise is her name, this young woman. And it actually enhances the rest of his life, considering his wife's kind of tough. She's like the opposite of what he is, and he finds that very exciting and thrilling in a lot of ways. She's not the warmest of people, for sure. And his son is something else. Just like, he has no closeness or attachment, or he doesn't relate to his son in any way. And that's hard for him because he's a people pleaser. He's somebody who wants to see good things happen around him, good things for people he cares about. And he ends up forming this real attachment to this couple. Well, fairly early on, something absolutely horrible happens. And I can't really tell you about anything else unless I tell you. Then that's going to be spoilery, though. I don't know how to talk about this without it being spoilery. But something absolutely horrible happens, and it changes everything. It changes things for Denise, this woman that works for him. It changes things for him, and he basically goes into this mode where I'm going to talk about it because I can't talk about this and tell you my feelings for everything unless I talk about it. But if you don't want to hear what could be spoilers, I don't know, because I've only read the first 10%. I don't know if this spoils the rest of the story because I tell you this part. I don't think so, but just warning you, if you don't want to hear, skip it forward. Denise's young husband, Henry, is shot by his best friend. Not intentionally. He goes out hunting. They go out hunting, and his friend mistakes him for a deer. He gets shot, and he's dead. And this is horrifying because this is the beginning of a life for Henry and Denise, young Henry. And older Henry just has loved their relationship, their dynamic. Like I said, he kind of lives vicariously through them, not craving their life, but craving that vitality in a way. He lives off of the happiness, and he brings that into his life. So this year that those two were a couple, and she was working with him, and he was, friends with Henry and friends with Denise, and it was like the happiest time of his life, just because he was enjoying all the lovely little things about life. He's a very nostalgic person, and he really cares about a lot of balance in his life. He wants the happy things. He wants the little moments. He wants to remember things that make him feel amazing. He loves his drive into town on his way to work. He likes to, pop his window open a little bit, even on cold days, so he can smell the cold, and he can he lives for moments. Let's put it that way. That he's living for the moments. He's living for the vibes. I'm jumping ahead of myself. So anyways, first impressions about that first section are that it was very cozy. The writing is very cozy. It almost feels like, and I don't know what this book actually is, and I'll say that now in advance. I don't know what this book is. It almost feels like it could be something along the lines of Frederick Bachman. Maybe it's not Frederick Bachman, because the story doesn't sound like anything I'm aware of with Frederick Bachman, but it gives off those kind of vibes. It gives off literary / regular adult fiction. And it has that aspect of we're focusing more on the characters than we are necessarily on what is happening with the plot. There are things that happen within this plot, but I'll talk a little bit more about that later. Those are my first impressions, though. A bit about the writing style, and that it felt super cozy and was easy to get into, actually, because of the coziness. Denise's husband dies. Henry's just devastated, and she's devastated, and she also has never learned how to take care of herself. So Henry takes it upon himself because he feels for this widowed woman, not because he's interested in her, at least not yet. He feels for her, so he helps her learn how to drive. He helps her get an apartment. He helps her open a bank account. He helps her get her life together. And on the sidelines, his wife is not telling him don't do these things, but she's like, I see what's happening here. And she never stops him. And she almost like, it's like she kind of teases at one point, like, go to your girlfriend. But at the same time, she never tells him not to do these things. And she never seems to outwardly distrust him. Except for that she's saying, you know, like, oh, I see what's happening here. So that's interesting that she isn't concerned that he could be cheating on her, at least doesn't act that way. And I will say that he never, at least it doesn't seem like he ever actually physically cheats on his wife, but he does emotionally because he does fall for Denise and she falls for him. And they both know that there's nowhere this relationship could go or no way that it could happen because, for one, it's not supposed to happen. He's married and she's not. He's a lot older than her. They're both from different religions. It's not a lifestyle that would make sense for either of them. But they can't help the fact that they have gone through so much now at this point together and they have strong feelings for each other. And so we get a little bit of this jumping back and forth in time, which we're kind of like seeing him now 20 years in the future. She has moved off. She's married someone who we do get to know at the beginning of the story, and as we're at the end of this, we're saying that it's not a happy marriage, which isn't surprising because her real love, her true love was Henry, the one she was super excited about when she was really young, and he died in a horrible accident. Nothing was ever going to happen with our older Henry, but he's still very nostalgic, and she'll send him a letter and a birthday card every year on his birthday, and she hasn't this year. And she seems to be becoming kind of a shell of a person now that she is not only a mother, and that has taken a lot from her youth, her vitality, but also that her husband's he's just not very good to her. He's really harsh with her. He's really heavy-handed, not physically, at least not at this point. But he will tell her, straighten up, stand up tall. He's very aggressive with her in the way he talks to her and kind of expects her to do certain things. And this whole time, older Henry is just very reminiscent. He's thinking a lot about these different moments in the past. So I don't know what the actual arc of this story is going to be. I almost felt like this little section, this little 10%, gave me a story arc in its own right. Trying to understand what is going to happen overall in this story, I really don't know, which actually is intriguing. I don't mind reading books where cheating or emotional cheating is a thing. Not that I condone it in any way. It just doesn't affect me the way it affects other people to read about that. And so that is something where I'm like, really, dude, Henry, come on. You don't have to be so stupid. But at the same time, it doesn't make me want to stop reading this. And it doesn't make me as endeared to these characters, but I'm still very intrigued by them. And I don't absolutely dislike them. So that's definitely important for gaining interest in the characters. You got to enjoy the characters in a book like this because it is really all about the characters. And so although devastating things have happened and the story has gotten less and less cozy and comfortable in the content, I still feel like the writing is a very cozy and easy writing. Even though I think this is a slightly longer book based on that first 10%, I got through it easily. I could see myself sitting down with this book and having no problem getting through it. And I did enjoy it. I did enjoy the vibes it gave. Do I want to read this one more than I want to read other books that I've read so far in this series? I don't know. It's hard to say because it is intriguing because I want to know what the story actually is about. What's actually going to happen here. And because I'm liking the writing style, that is encouraging for me for sure. But what this book is, I have absolutely no idea. That's the funny thing about this round. Last round, I knew what so many of the books were. I think there were not very many that I didn't know what the book was. But in this one, I have been way less knowledgeable about the books that I have been reading a 10% from. So that's kind of fun because you all are stumping me a lot more this time around. All right, let's go and hear what Shell has to say about this.
Welcome back, Amy. You've made it halfway through. Contestant number 5 is perceptive and deeply empathetic. It is Olive Kitteridge by Elizabeth Strout. Now, this recommendation was given to you by Elsa. She said that it's a slow character study, beautifully written and on the short side. And she's also noticed that you like slow moving books. So we hope that you enjoyed your date with contestant number 5.
All right, let us know in the comment section down below what you think of this book, what you thought of the first 10% if you've never heard of this book before and you've never read it. I would love to hear your thoughts, your comments. If you like this video, give it a big thumbs up and subscribe so you can see what happens on date number 6. I'm halfway at this point. I have 5 more dates left. I'm very, very excited about meeting my other contestants. And then, well, I'm nervous about making my final choice. Let me definitely say that. It's going to be hard. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you later. Bye.